Hello and welcome to Affable Chat. My name is Benjamin, and on today's episode, we will be discussing the original sci-fi comedy blockbuster Ghostbusters from 1984. I'm joined by two guests today. First up, a returning guest and a podcast favorite, musical artist Nick Heredia. Nick, welcome back to Affable Chat.
Thank you so much. It's so good to be back.
It's great to have you back. And you're not the only one returning. We have another returning guest, another podcast favorite. We've got the lovable, the original Cooz. Cooz, welcome back to Affable Chat.
Thank you, everybody. It's good to be back.
And it's what a momentous time to be back. We're talking about one of the most iconic films, period, I think, as far as like cultural impact. And you know, maybe that's bold, maybe it's not. We'll see what we think when we dig into it today. I just want to get started with an initial overview of Ghostbusters for each one of us. So tell me, and we'll start with you, Nick. Tell me how long you've been familiar with the franchise, how long you've been familiar with this film specifically, and your high-level thoughts on it. Just generally, how do you feel about Ghostbusters?
So I really got into Ghostbusters, I feel like with like half of the kids that ever exist, just because of the song. The song's so iconic, and that's like the first thing we ever hear as kids is the Ghostbusters song. And that alone made me be like, cool. And I also thought the symbol was cool, the don't go. So like as a kid, that always drawed me to it. And so I saw it eventually as a child. My dad showed it to me, and I loved it. I thought it was just cool. I thought it was a cool like combo of comedy and sci-fi. It reminded me of like Men in Black, where it's like taking something fictional and making it fun. And so it like from there it spawned me all of these years to like watch all the other movies and enjoy the media, play some of the video games. I've loved this franchise very much. It's very personal to me at this point, and I it's very iconic. Of course, we'll get into that, but I love Ghostbusters.
All right, and we'll pass it over to you next, Cooz. What's your familiarity with Ghostbusters and your high-level thoughts on the film?
Boy, a tough act to follow. I am a much more casual fan, admittedly. I love the song. That's where I was like first introduced, just much like probably the rest of us. But I saw Ghostbusters, and I enjoyed it a lot. But it was just like a fun experience, and that was just kind of it. And then I saw the sequel as a kid, right? And it was good. And the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man jokes were, phenomenal. But that was kind of it. Like, I haven't seen Afterlife. I haven't seen Frozen Empire. I did not hear great things about the remake or the reboot or whatever. Like, I've seen it. I think I was pretty inebriated when I saw it, because I don't remember it being horrible. I just remember like all of the critiques being kind of correct. But yeah, I'm very casual with this. I'm not as invested.
Fair enough. Although I don't know if it gets any more casual than me, because you might think there's something supernatural about the fact that I saw Ghostbusters for the first time ever in 2026. Growing up, I was a total coward when it came to anything even remotely in the horror genre. So I stayed far away from Ghostbusters. Honestly, looking back, I probably would have been fine, but I think a lot of times I would just tell myself, "Oh, this is too scary. I don't even want to get into it." But after growing up and gaining some courage, I finally decided to give it a watch with you guys, especially, and it was a surreal experience to get to take in such a cultural landmark over 40 years after it first made waves. And it made huge waves. And I'll be honest, on the first viewing, I was a little bit underwhelmed. I finished the film and I was like, this is Ghostbusters? That's it? And honestly, I think that it's an incredibly high bar to clear when you've lived with the hype that has existed even before I was born, but definitely also throughout my entire life. And I think once I let that kind of wear off on my second viewing, I think I was able to appreciate more of what makes Ghostbusters great. This movie is fun and funny. The humor is incredibly dry. I think that was one of the things that was almost that I chafed at initially, but on my second viewing, I was laughing. I was like, I didn't even realize he said that the first time. Like when Winston is like, so we're just gonna go in front of a judge and tell him that like this Mesopotamian god is about to like unleash hell on New York. I'm gonna need a different lawyer than you guys. Like, if that's your plan, and like
he totally cops out,
right? But he like plays it so straight, and it's so funny. So I think some of those lines hit a little bit harder the second time. That made me think, okay, actually, this is really funny. The special effects I also thought looked really decent, if not at times a little campy, especially when you think about how old this movie is and like where sci-fi special effects have gone since then. So, and also the climax of this film is so iconic. It like I knew about the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man even before seeing this movie, just because how could you not talk about that after seeing this movie? And the way that he comes about, like emptying your mind, is so creative. So there's a lot of stuff from this movie that I think is just they had such a great idea and they capitalized on it, and nobody had done anything like it before, which makes it iconic. And just like Nick said earlier, the Ghostbusters symbol and the theme song for Ghostbusters are some of the best branding around a film that I've seen maybe ever. It's so simple, just like no ghost, and then also, well, like the catchphrase, like who are you gonna call, is so killer. Like again, you don't even have to see the movie to know that catchphrase because it's that iconic. So
true.
I mean, I think all that stuff really comes across strongly. And while this movie is mostly surface level, silly, fun, there are some themes that come across to me as kind of heavy handed, especially because I don't agree with most of them. And we'll kind of dig into that. But all in all, this is a fun movie, a memorable movie, and I'm excited to dig into it with you guys today. So we'll move on to our kind of Ghostbusters history and context section, and talk about, just some of the straight facts about Ghostbusters. So this film was released on June 8th, 1984. It was directed by Ivan Reitman, I think it is, or Reitman.
I think it's Reitman.
Reitman. And he's got a pretty impressive history. He also directed Twins, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito. He directed another Arnold classic with Kindergarten Cop. He directed Ghostbusters 2 as well as, being the Ghostbusters director. And he even directed Draft Day, starring Kevin Costner, that NFL film that was mixed reviews at best. He was also a producer on Space Jam, and also a bunch of other movies that I'm sure are important to people who are a little older than me. Like there's this movie Dave that also has Sigourney Weaver in it. So he's done a lot. He is a pretty decorated director here. The film was written by Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis. Is that how you say it? Ramis. And they are the ones who play Ray and Egon. And which I thought was really cool to have them kind of on the both sides writing it and also starring in it. And at the box office, it was an absolute powerhouse, massive financial success. Produced on a $30 million budget, which again, you got to think about inflation, was a little bit more, but still grossed way more than that, nearly $295 million during its original theatrical run, making it the highest grossing comedy of all time at the time. And it was the second highest grossing film of that year, 1984, right behind Beverly Hills Cop. And based on what I've read about like kind of the cultural impact of Ghostbusters, is that it essentially invented the sci-fi comedy blockbuster film. Before this, sci-fi was a lot more serious, where it's like kind of played not for laughs. Like, you can't have comedy elements. Like, Star Wars has comedy elements, but you wouldn't call Star Wars a comedy. And then you have comedies that are more grounded in reality, like Animal House or Caddyshack, where you're just more playing up for laughs, real life scenarios. So having it pioneer this new lane in cinema with these like cool special effects was earth shattering at the time, and really contributes to part of the reason why it's so viewed as so iconic. This is what I'm gathering from kind of the research I've done. Watching it 40 years later, like again, my initial response was like, this is it. But when you think about it contextually in its heyday, that's pretty impressive. So I think that's like a really cool thing. I guess any thoughts so far, guys, while we're going through the stats here?
I mean, it sounds about right for like as well as like as far as the like sales and projected, like I think it makes sense that was one of the first like sci-fi comedy films. Like, again, I always just think of Men in Black, which is like the same concept but aliens.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure that maybe it's not Men in Black. Ivan Reitman has directed a lot of stuff, and I think more so Groundhog Day is one of them, or Stripes. It's one of those two.
Stripes. He did it.
Stripes.
He did direct Stripes. Yes,
he's great. And so Ghostbusters 1 and 2. I didn't really get to. Cooz talked about this, but I didn't get to expand on this. But like, I've seen all the other ones, and like those first two really do like pave the way for these sequels, which I have seen. And like Afterlife was really personally, I think Afterlife and Frozen Empire are incredible. I do think I am with Cooz that I saw like the reboot, and like I think it's good on its own. Like, it's fine, but like it is so unnecessary because
now,
the original is
just for anybody who's unclear. The reboot is the 2016 like all female Ghostbusters.
All female, also known as Ghostbusters Answer the Call. Like, that's one of the names for it, is Ghostbusters Answer the Call. And like I've seen it. It's fine. They did a good job with it. It doesn't hurt Ghostbusters, but it's like it is the same concept as the original, and it's just like the original is so iconic, and like I can totally understand why you, like, who hadn't seen it for like this whole time it's been out, finally watching it, getting a little underwhelmed, but like second rewatch, noting that like 80s pop cultural like just aura it has, and then we'll get into all the like the quotes and stuff like that. It's just really, really good, and I forgot where I was going with that.
But I agree. Like, I think when you look at the impact that Ghostbusters has, it's impossible to ignore all the subsequent IP. I mean, that came out of that, and
the facts. Yeah, what we were just
and I think there's a part of it that kind of shows you the way that the sequels have been received, maybe not as well as the original, gives you even more to praise about the original, because it was able to invent itself in a way that really stuck around. And we'll talk more in depth about the sequels. But I guess moving forward, let's talk a little bit about the casting in this film, because here's something that I didn't realize. I was like, what is Sigourney Weaver doing in this movie? I had no clue. She was in freaking Ghostbusters, dude. I was like, she's my like alien queen from Aliens, but like not
Ripley.
Yeah, I know. She like, it was kind of shocking to me, but like, let's just run down what is honestly a pretty stacked lineup. And I thought that Ghostbusters was again, this is coming from like dude who knows nothing about Ghostbusters. I thought this was like a Bill Murray vehicle. Like I was like, Ghostbusters is a Bill Murray movie, which it is, but it's also a Dan Aykroyd movie, and it has Sigourney Weaver and Rick Moranis. I had no clue Rick Moranis was in this. So
I totally forgot Rick Moranis was in this movie.
Yeah, and he's hilarious.
He's
To
great.
me, Rick Moranis is Darth Helmet. That's like the
Oh
main,
yeah.
especially if you're talking sci-fi. That's my main thing that I identify with him. But he is he's like he plays such a twerp in this movie, and he does it so well. At first, he was so twerpy, I did not like him. But on the second watching, I was like, oh, dude, this is hilarious. He's always getting locked out of his own place. And like the whole thing where Sigourney Weaver's TV turned on and like a guy complained and he turned his TV on also to make it seem like something was wrong with both. It's like, dude, what is wrong with you?
He was a simp before
Yes.
simps could even simp.
He was definitely the OG simp. He is also, dude. I love how dorky he is in that movie. And for me, like I do know him as Darth Helmet. That was one of his iconic things. For me, I always know him as the dad from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Like the creator of the shrink ray and whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
And so like I've just always said that. So when I saw Ghostbusters as a kid, mind you, my dad having skipped a couple adult moments in the movie just so I could watch it as like an 8-year-old boy, an 8 or 9-year-old boy. Which, fun fact, like the day I saw this, I'll never forget this. The day I saw it was the day SpongeBob Prehistoric came out. It was like the same night, and I was like, Dad,
What was SpongeGar?
Yeah, well, it was SpongeGar and Squawk
Squawk.
and Patar. Dude, that episode, I remember it like was gonna be the new like SpongeBob Prehistoric was coming out or SpongeBob BC, and I was like, Dad, can we please watch like I've been wanting to watch, and he's like, fine, I'll show it to you, and then you can go watch SpongeBob. And I was like, perfect. This night's gonna be awesome. And sure enough, it was a memorable night I never forgot because
Yes.
I saw Ghostbusters and then I saw SpongeBob Prehistoric.
SpongeGar.
But back to the casting, dude. This is my favorite Bill Murray movie. Like that really, because he does sell this movie. So I'm glad you at least knew that he was like the driving force in this, because he really is. And he like his lines are great too, because he's like one of my favorite things. As a kid, I didn't get why it said like when it first pans to the university and like it says written like "Die, Dr. Vinkman," and it's because he's always torturing the dude, but like giving the girl like students like praise and shit. Like it's so funny, and like of course young Bill Murray like could like pull that off. And so this is like my favorite Bill Murray movie. I do love Sigourney Weaver. Sigourney Weaver is fantastic in this because I also knew her as the alien queen, but I also knew her as the as the warden from Holes. She's like, excuse me. And like that's the first time I ever saw her in anything. And then when I saw her in Ghostbusters, I was like, that's the girl from Holes. And then like again, Dan Aykroyd, who I always knew as Frohmeyer from Christmas with the Cranks, but he is Dan Aykroyd's also, I've seen him in Trading Places as an adult, and that movie is fantastic too. And so like again, this casting's so great, and I think it does do a powerhouse, especially again Harold. I like that him and Sigourney Weaver. You didn't know, Ben, that they were going to be in it. Like, what a great for your first watch. What a great like. Oh shoot, they're in this. Like, that's a cool. That does kind of warm my heart hearing for your first watch you had that moment.
Definitely, and it helps to flesh out kind of the hype, because you understand it's like, okay, well these are big names. Just to make sure we also mention. Ernie Hudson was as Winston Zeddemore. Now, this was an interesting one for me because my initial takeaway was, who's this random guy? Like, the movie builds up the other three Ghostbusters from the beginning, and then you have Winston who kind of just is like, and I'm also here. You know, it's like he's just getting a job.
Here for the paycheck.
He's totally there for the paycheck.
Which is funny also, the way that he's a little bit more grounded than those guys, and more practical. But I thought this was interesting, and apparently they had originally written Ernie Hudson to be played by Eddie Murphy, and he was going to be way more of a character. Like, they had this backstory that he was going to have, so that he's not just some random guy, and he ended up turning down Ghostbusters so that he could be in Beverly Hills Cop, which was an even bigger hit than Ghostbusters that year. So
Dang, good on Eddie Murphy, because dang, he rated the right choice. But like, also that would have been great. It makes sense because when before I saw the movie, I was like, who is this guy that looks like Eddie Murphy?
Like, and all like credit to Ernie Hudson for turning in a great performance. It's fine.
Sure.
But I also feel like they didn't give him that much to work with, and it does feel like they just had 4 costumes and they just needed a guy to fill in the last one.
I do think the moments where he like has lines, he does shine though, because like his first official scene before he's like looking at the app, like at the spot, and he's like outside the firehouse when he's being interviewed by Annie Potts, who plays Janine, right?
Yes.
She is
Melnitz.
She is great. Annie Potts is fantastic, but that scene is so hilarious to me, even as an adult now, because she's like, do you believe in the Loch Ness Monster, this thing, that thing? And he's like, if there's a standard page ticket, I'll believe anything you say, which is such a funny line, and it's so iconic that I'll never forget this. It's either like on the Ghostbusters website when you apply to be a Ghostbuster, or in the video game, you have to fill out their thing, and it's the same thing, and that is an answer. If there's a standard pay ticket, I'll believe anything you say, and I'm like, that's me. Like, I know exactly what line that is.
Acceptable answer.
Yeah, I think Winston Zedmore, Ernie Hudson's character, is fantastic. I think when Ernie Hudson does have lines, he's great.
Yeah, and I think there's probably like a decision to be made there where you're like, it's not Eddie Murphy. If we cut the like Winston like backstory a bit, that gives us a shorter movie that feels a little more tight. Like, I definitely feel like this movie doesn't waste time and like just gets to it like plot point to plot point for the most part. So ultimately, I think I'm okay with it, but it does make me wonder, like, what would Ghostbusters have been if it was also an Eddie Murphy movie, and if he had, like, you cut away from maybe right after they get kicked out of the university, and you go see what he's up to at that point before he like gets involved with the Ghostbusters. You know, maybe he has his own paranormal experience that leads him to wanting to work for the Ghostbusters. You know, because at this point, they definitely emphasize the like, they are overworked, like they have so much work to do that like they can't even keep up with it. And like when Janine is like, you know, you said you're gonna hire more help, you know, and
I love that moment.
Yeah, and when Ernie shows up, they're just like, you're hired, you know, like they don't even like question it. Or I guess Winston shows up, but that is effectively expressed. But I just think it would be more interesting if all 4 of the Ghostbusters, because it really feels like the 3 Ghostbusters plus bonus Ghostbuster that like is not as much of a Ghostbuster as them, you know, and which again, like I said, is okay. I think if as long as it doesn't make the movie stretch on. But okay, so that's cast. Like we said, kind of a powerhouse there. Let's move on to what makes this movie iconic. And we already talked about the ghost symbol, which is just masterful graphic design, and then also the song, which, dude, okay, my wife has not seen Ghostbusters either, and I actually watched this while I was on a business trip, so she hadn't seen it. And I'm sure she's heard the theme song, but like I was walking around the house and I was like, busting makes me feel good. And she's like, what are you talking about? And like the song is just, it's just so good. It is. I love the song.
Did you watch it when you were on your second rewatch or?
No. I actually watched it on my phone for the second rewatch, like in parts, and it actually worked out for me.
So your wife is still a person in 2026 who has not seen Ghostbusters. Dang, dude. That is
dang. She doesn't understand the context of
but I love
busting makes you feel good.
She has no clue why busting makes me feel good.
Dude, I love it because like for years, even as a kid, like that the song is so catchy and good. And so that's like a busting make me feel good. it hits and it sells, and it's so funny just out of context to someone who doesn't even know the song. That's so incredibly iconic. Oh my god.
And it's like one of those things that immediately, and honestly I don't know because I've heard the song before the movie, but it's one of those things where, especially because they start off the movie, boom, like, who you gonna call? Like, before you even have any context. And I think there's a kind of the way that Ghostbusters is branded is like, this is a business, but it's also a like celebrity phenomenon. The Ghostbusters are famous. The Ghostbusters have fans. People cheer for the Ghostbusters as they're going into battle, right? So when you, in the song, they're like, who are you going to call? And then it's a bunch of people who love the Ghostbusters going, Ghostbusters! And I just feel like that all came together so well because it's not just somebody singing about how much busting makes him feel good. It's the people, the supporters, the people who love the Ghostbusters, who are going to call the Ghostbusters, also being like, yeah, of course, that's who I'm calling, the Ghostbusters.
Of course. Who are you going to call? Ghostbusters. So, yeah,
Ghostbusters.
That tagline
clearly
is great. And Ray Parker Jr. definitely made a good song. Ben, I'm curious, did you ever watch the music video for the Ghostbusters song?
I didn't even think to look that up.
I'm just curious because in preparation for this podcast, you sent us a GIF that was like the Ghostbusters dancing, and it's like that's from the music video, and they're like with Ray Parker, like Bill Burr, like they're all there. Like, who are you gonna call? It's so iconic.
Oh dang, is it? I thought that GIF was from the epic rap battle. But I could be wrong.
No, it wasn't from that. I picked that GIF specifically because I was like, this is not from the movie. But anyways, the song, like the main song, I thought was the only song, but there's other Ghostbusters songs in the movie where they specifically say the words Ghostbusters.
Yes.
And in my opinion, I don't have any problems with like the soundtrack while I'm watching this movie, but the other songs not as good as that one.
Sure. Hilariously not as good compared to the song.
As someone who actually, because I love the movie as a kid, I was before I ever even learned music myself, I like would listen to soundtracks. So I bought the Ghostbusters CD, and the one other song I like, and it's when they're heading to the hotel.
Yes,
to get
that's
Slimer.
The song I'm thinking of.
Yes.
Dude, I actually do love that song, but yeah, it definitely is not as good as who are you gonna call? Ghostbusters. But cleaning up the town is cool because they're like, those Ghostbusters came in, cleaning up the town. It is so catchy.
Well, I just thought it was funny because throughout, like, I knew that there was a Ghostbuster theme song, and the first time I watched it, the other songs to me just sounded like 80s songs or whatever. But then I was like, wait, this was also Ghostbusters, like
they said Ghostbusters
trademark song. So
I think it's just those two songs, but the rest of the
that's the
film
only
is like,
other one I noticed. Yeah.
But I love very detailed on your rewatch. And I'm so glad you noticed that. For someone like most people aren't like me who didn't have the CD and they watched just the movie. So like when I was watching, like I was listening to the CD and like watching the movie, like, oh dude, I love this part of the movie. Like it just tied it in. But that's just because I was just born to be like a Ghostbusters super fan personally.
You were you still are such a cinephile, like, and that was why I had to have you on this episode because I was like, are you gonna have a podcast about Ghostbusters? Who are you gonna call?
Who are you gonna call?
Nick Heredia, because he knows Ghostbusters. Okay, so a few other things that I think to me come across as iconic, especially now that I know the movie better or like at all. The car, dude, the car is crazy with all the sirens and like. And the logo on the side, it's like cool. It's a cool to have. Like, I love having like an official vehicle, and they do use it a lot. Where he's like, "Come on, let's run some red lights." And like at the end of the movie, they finish like they save the day, and then it's just them like trying to get their car out of like where everybody is. Like it's this really long sequence of Dan Aykroyd like leaning out the window, looking backwards and like waving people off. Like very much a big part of like the Ghostbusters iconography. Yeah. And then the firehouse, the fact that they're in this like abandoned firehouse and that's kind of their base of operations.
You gotta try this pole.
Yeah, and that was like the thing that sold him on it.
This place is great.
And
we
then
should stay here, sleep here tonight, just to try it out.
and then the costumes, the fact that they wear these like exterminator outfits,
Jumpsuits.
the jumpsuits, yes, and with the proton packs and the freaking lasers. Something that I thought was really surprised with was that they don't really use them all that much. Like they're very restrained with the amount of like laser beams that are coming out of those things.
Sure.
It's like which I think makes it that much more entertaining. I was listening to Red Letter Media talk about Ghostbusters, and they talked about how the like lasers from the proton packs are a lot like lightsabers. Like it's that much better when they're used like
Sparingly.
not too much. Yeah, sparingly. Yes.
Sparingly.
Because it's like then you kind of lose the allure. Because every time, especially when I was like watching it, I felt like the volume of the lasers was super high. So it was like, especially when they're in the hotel, it's like kind of quiet. They're like just lurking around, and then like like this super loud, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is so chaotic. Like they do not know what they're doing with these things, which is pretty funny. So
which is so funny when it's
dude.
cutting to the guy who was like running the manager, and he's just like holding onto the door because he hears all the commotion. It's so
dude,
good.
One of the funniest bits is them like testing the lasers on the poor cleaning lady, and they're like and like start literally blasting her.
What the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
Sorry,
we thought you were someone else. Which again is like so. It's like, what? That's such a stupid thing to say, but it's like so dry, and it it almost took me a second to even realize they're trying to be funny,
dude. Like that. That's to be honest, my favorite part of the movie, besides the montage, which we'll get to, is where they're trying to catch Slimer. Like that, like when they get the call all the way to catching him, because it's so nonstop laughs. I love when they're waiting on the elevator and this guy's like, what are you supposed to be, some kind of cosmonaut? And he's like, no, we're exterminators. Someone saw a cockroach up on 12. he's like, it's got to be some kind of cockroach. He's like, bite your head off, man.
Yeah, that's another thing that I've heard is that Ghostbusters is the most quotable movie of all time. Like it's full of quotes like that. Yeah, so
I love the quotes, dude. It's so good.
Hey man, tell him about the Twinkie.
Yes,
yeah, tell him about the Twinkie, dude. So
which
good.
also like is such a like I feel like a kind of unnecessary metaphor.
No, it is. He just has a Twinkie, so they're like, but I like tell him about the Twinkie. Like, what about the Twinkie? I also, dude, I just love the different. Yeah, all the quotes are so freaking funny. Even when even when they're trying to catch Slimer, like that specific situation. After Bill Murray gets slimed. Like that was such an he's like, he slimed me. I feel so funky. Like that was like the first scene I ever saw as a kid, just on TV before I ever actually got to watch the full movie. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. So like, yeah, there's a lot of moments in this movie that like line wise that just hit so well.
Dude, yes. And that reminds me, honestly, that whole sequence is so like OG ghost catchers, like it's just simple, it's pretty low stakes, but it's like it really gets you excited about it.
It sells the concept really well.
Yes, yeah, especially because they're bad at it at that point. But I guess one thing that I love is how like weird Egon is, because he's like, I got slimed, and Ray is like, that's great, like for like real world, like real contact, and then they call Egon, and he's like,
save me some.
That's great, say some for me.
Some, yeah. That's his first priority, which was also what he thought earlier when they got like the mucus at the library. So, but
dude,
so there's that, of course, but also the Slimer himself, I think, is probably my favorite like ghoul throughout the whole thing, especially the way that they do the like eating, where it just like falls right through him. Honestly, that was giving me flashbacks to Casper, the friendly ghost. As far as like not being able to like physically eat things and like passing through their bodies.
Inspired, you could say.
Inspired. Well, it's like not even inspired, because you're thinking of the universal 90s Casper.
Yes.
In that movie, if you rewatch it, this is a good Easter egg to Casper. Dan Aykroyd, when they're trying to get the ghost out before that family moves in, Dan Aykroyd comes out and he's like, "Who are you gonna call?" Someone else, and he runs away, and it's a callback to Ghostbusters, and he's got like a mustache, and it's it's so cool that they like kind of pay that homage when they're eating food as a ghost, and it's just going through you. Dude, yeah, that whole scene with Slimer is so good. One of my also favorite like moments, like after they catch him, is whenever they're like talking about pricing, and like Bill Murray's looking at Egon, and he's like. He's like holding up a 3. He's like, and we're also doing a deal on proton charging, and that's only going to be $1,000. So that's $5,000.
Yes, and then they're like, we won't pay it, and he's like, okay, we'll just go put it back.
Put it back. Like, don't mind us.
Of course we can, right? Well, let me just get right to that. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, honestly, that is there's a very highlight portion of the film for me, that initial ghost hunt. Also, again, on the second watch, because the first time I watched them go to the New York City Library and like encounter that first ghost, I was like legit frustrated with them. I was like, these guys are such knuckleheads. What are they doing? And then I feel like the second time I watched it, I was like, I knew them better. I was like, these guys are hilarious. Because like the part where he's like, get her.
That was your plan?
Get her. Nah, it was scientific. That's dude. Well, that is so funny.
The other thing that I liked was the way they had the cards that were like flying out. I thought that was a great like
opening sequence.
Yes, and then the lady who's like first getting spooked. So I thought the opening also pretty iconic.
So good.
Kind of a slow burn there. We talked about the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, but like such a creative, like subversive, still kind of creepy way to like show your main villain or your final boss, really. And obviously like something that everybody knows about, even if they haven't seen the movie.
The thing I really love about Stay Puft is, and this is, Ben, I don't know if you noticed this on your first watch well, actually not your first watch, your rewatch, but in the scene where Dana comes like home from like her first scene, she's putting groceries. There's Stay Puft marshmallows just there, and I remember seeing that not as a kid because I didn't really like even understand. I had seen Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, but I didn't know how he comes into the movie at all. And after a few rewatches, I was like, oh, she actually has the marshmallows with the Stay Puft marshmallow on it. Like that's iconic, and yeah,
very
he's a great boss.
Universe that this is a brand that they know.
Yes.
Yeah, well, it sets up the joke, right?
It really does.
Oh man, I remember like Stay Puft marshmallows as a kid, and we used to roast them over an open fire. Yeah. So it like sets up the gag when she just has the Stay Puft marshmallows right next to the eggs that are like exploding, and those are the only two things you see on screen. So that way, when they make the joke later, it's like, oh shit, like branding.
Yes, it's like I remember this. Yes, and that's another effect I really liked was the eggs like cooking and exploding. That was a cool like haunted effect.
I really think the practical effects in this movie are still top notch. I was really impressed, even like after all these years, how like the creature feature, like creature effects were really, really well done.
Like like which one specifically are you referring to?
Well, definitely like a lot of the scenes with Slimer, like those are all like animatronic or like physical, right? Not Zool, but like the dogs, the demon dogs, or whatever.
Dude.
The ones where they're physical and like actually like in the scene, like almost like Henson style, right? Like phenomenal. In fact, one of the things I didn't like the movie is that like it's so noticeable when they switch from the creature feature stuff to CGI. Where like the dogs are running or whatever, and they like kind of switch it up. It's so noticeable. Oh my god,
noticeable.
That's a good almost point. Like stop motion kind of thing.
Yeah, it's almost like stop motion or like really like early CGI, and it's just like, dang. You mean to tell me that like you couldn't shell out the extra $50,000 or whatever to make these animatronics like run or the puppets run? You know.
To your point, Cooz, it's a specific moment, but when like right before Dana gets possessed, all these hands start coming out of her chair to hold her down, And it's like, that is a really good practical effect. I remember seeing that as a kid, and actually that was one of the more frightening moments in the movie where I was like,
oh yeah,
whoa. That was, like looking back, I'm like, that still gives me, ooh, it's creepy.
It gives you the goosies, bro. Like,
Yeah.
you just get all,
I thought she was dead for sure.
Yeah, dude. I was like, oh, dude, she's done. Especially when, like, the first thing you see is she's, like, coming towards the dog itself. It's like, oh, dude, they're going to freaking kill her.
Oh,
little do we know,
Dunzo.
like, they're just possessing her, which I have to say, we were talking about casting, but Sigourney Weaver's performance when she's possessed is fantastic. And that was one of the two scenes that my dad obviously skipped when I was 9 years old. Because she's like, I want you inside me. You want this body. She's like so horny for Bill Murray. And it's like, as an adult, it's actually so funny. But like he, at least as a scientist, can tell she doesn't normally act like this. Like and there's like slime everywhere. She's possessed. Like it is a funny moment, but she does a really good job acting that possessed role. And it's, of course, she's like hot with it too. She's got this whole like orange garb on.
Timeless beauty.
Like
that is Sigourney Weaver.
They knew. And now, Ben, I can't remember, was Alien after Ghostbusters or was it before?
Let me look it up really quick.
I'm just curious because Alien was already like...
Alien was 79.
Yes!
So it was before Sigourney Weaver, but also definitely riding the hype after Alien.
For sure riding the hype, because I think that movie was her like, hey, look at this hot woman who can really do sci-fi well. Let's put her in this comedy with all these other casts. And she does a great job, because she's like, she's like the quote-unquote damsel in distress, but I think her character is great because she calls on the Ghostbusters. Like, she's her first customer. She sees them on the ad and she's like, these guys. But then she has a ghost problem. She's like, okay, I'm actually legit gonna call those knuckleheads on TV because they at least claim to know what's going on in my apartment. And it totally sets up like the actual premise of the like for the main antagonistic Gozer and everything else. It's so good.
I also want to point out real quick that they do eventually figure it out. Like, even with their whole building, like, like they are knuckleheads, yes, but they do figure it out.
Well, they're really good at what they do. Honestly, if New York could be screwed without them.
They have to do the one thing they were told. Like that's one of my also favorite lines is the like, I'm a whole fuzzy on the good bad thing. What do you mean bad? And he's talking about crossing the streams. And so like at the end he's like, we'll cross the streams. He's like, hold on, Egon, you told me crossing the streams was bad. Like he's like, I remember this. This is not what we're supposed to do. And they're like, oh, but like we should do it. Like cross the streams to save the world. Like, it's so good. It's so iconic.
Well, to comment on Sigourney Weaver as like the damsel in distress, I like that they made her more than the damsel in distress. Like her body is possessed and she's not doing anything, but it's like it's nice to have her actually doing something. She's the gatekeeper. She's the dude. Yes, I also love that master
part of the lore because I like that Rick Moranis gets to be the keymaster.
Yes. And like they kiss, like there's like this kind of erotic aspect to the two ghouls or whatever that are possessing them, that are trying to bring about the what is it, Gozer like return, or summoning Gozer, whatever. So it was like kind of a fun play on the whole will they, won't they? They definitely never will, but then they both get possessed, and then now they are like kissing and stuff. So
sure. Dude, when Rick Moranis' character like comes back to the apartment, it like the epitome of like 80s horniness, Sigourney Weaver like displayed on the throne in like
backdrop
classic, classic like dominate position.
I've seen like a gif of that, and it's like when Bay, like when you walk in and Bay has like been waiting all day for him. I'm like, let's go. I'm like, that is so funny because like that's so iconic.
Dude, okay, actually, like we already talked about him a little bit, but I want to like also talk about Rick Moranis, or rather his character, which is Louis Tully. his party that he threw, because he never stops talking during that scene where he's going around talking about like, yeah, it was $24.95 per pound, but I got it for $12.94 because I'm writing it off as a business expense. That's why I invited my clients,
My
instead of
clients, my friends.
And then like this other girl's like, hey, I'm gonna leave, and he's like, no, don't leave. If we start dancing, maybe other people join in. She's like, okay, and they start dancing, and then he answers the door and introduces those other people by like explaining what their jobs are and what their incomes are. Like way too much detail.
Dumping.
He's like, I like his introduction in the movie is like before when Sigourney Weaver comes home, because he's like, you know, even though I know you do your taxes, but you know you should do. Like, he's such a business dude, and like, Ben, like honestly, as now that you've seen the first one, I'm like, watch the second one, because he also still has like moments where he's like, oh, I normally do like tax law. Like he's still so freaking quotable, and I think in the first Ghostbusters, especially that first scene, again, exactly what you said. He's like, I turn on my TV.
He's just this peculiar little twerpy guy, and that's
just
funny
down bad.
and memorable. Yeah,
for sure.
Well, he's down bad for Sigourney Weaver, but honestly, dude, I think that like the Mrs. Lewis Tully is somewhere out there. Like he's confident. He's clearly intelligent.
He's dancing with his friend, like to start every like. I love.
Yeah,
he's dancing like it's so great. I love like his party is. It makes such a brief appearance, especially when the dog is in like the closet. But like I remember as a kid loving. I was like, oh, this is a party I'd want to go to, because he's playing that song, "Burn, Baby, Burn." Yeah. I'm like, ooh! And I'm like, let's like as a kid, man. My disco-led parents like raised me on that song, so I was like, ooh, like that's what an adult party is like.
Well, I just think it's funny because he is such a peculiar, weird guy, but he also is like a good host. But returning to our kind of just like what we're currently talking about is like what makes this movie iconic. We have to mention that Ghostbusters is an iconic New York movie. This movie, the place where it takes place is also part of what makes it Ghostbusters. And like when he's like, let's show them how we do it downtown. Like the fact that they're in the city and like representing New Yorkers when they do this, I think is also an important part when you consider the identity of Ghostbusters.
For sure, especially it's always like, oh, I love this town at the end, and then Bill Murray, like, I love that they let his character canonically be Catholic because he's Catholic, because Stay Puft Marshmallow Man steps on a church. He's like, nobody steps on a church in my town.
Yes,
dude, they are so New York. And I mean, the first scene is the New York Public Library. So it's like this movie really does sell that so badly. And that fire station, it's part of that New York, like not the skyline, but it's just part of New York.
It's part of the New York culture, dude.
Yes, and also they invent this building that does not exist in New York. That is the one where Sigourney Weaver lives. But it's again like a high rise. It's in New York, in Manhattan. So it like, I think that's also something that, like, next time I'm in New York City, I'm going to be thinking about Ghostbusters because that's where it happens.
Heck yeah, dude. So, I like that.
But, okay, so let's move on to some of the themes that are present in this film. And I'll start with what I think is the main one, and it's kind of being pro-private enterprise. When they get kicked out of the university, first of all, the university looked like buffoons. They just had a confirmed ghost encounter. They have the ectoplasm. They just did the thing that they've trying to prove. And the dean is like, sorry, like, you're out. You guys, you're poor scientists. And that's like, okay, that's a stupid thing to do. But then you have Ray talking to, well, Ray and Bill Murray talking about like, what are they going to do next? And Ray talks about how he's like, you've never been outside of academia. Like in the real world, when you're in business, you have to get real results, implying that academia is just a bunch of whatever, wasting time and getting like big grants to do nothing. Yeah. And then what happens next is they form the Ghostbusters, where it is very business centric. We talked about how, Winston joins the team because it's a job. When they're about to go into that building at the end of the film to go figure out where Sigourney Weaver is and like fight the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, they're like, whatever happens, let's be professional. It looks like we're working overtime. Like there's this very heavy like theme of, okay, this is about having a job. This is about business. We're not just saving the day. We're also getting paid, right? And like that's a big part of it. Also, you notice that nobody else knows how to do this stuff. Nobody else can deal with the ghosts. Only the private enterprise geniuses who are making it big, becoming celebrities and rich off of this, are the ones who are like able to save the day. They're the only ones capable of being heroes. The government is weak and ineffective. Academia is a waste of time. Private business is like the true hero. And I feel like that's actually pretty heavily enforced throughout this film. So what do you guys think about that?
Oh, I would absolutely agree with that. It's funny, like hearing the New York take and also hearing this take, now having seen, I'm going to be honest, seeing Ghostbusters Afterlife and Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, it like both those movies really take Ghostbusters and like change the formula, but also bring like the stuff you're familiar with. It's very interesting. Because like Finn Wolfhard is in the sequels and whatnot. Like it becomes more like kid centric, but it is still very, very private enterprise. That has always been like a part of the first movie. And
aren't the sequels about like Aegon's family? Like, isn't his granddaughter like?
Yes, like as soon as Ghostbusters Afterlife starts, like you are following Egon's like grandchildren and his like daughter and whatnot, and so like that is like how they like play into the picture, just for some context. But it is very, but still, again, they ride that private business, and like in the second one, like they've gone out of business, like they save the world, and it starts with them. Oh, Ghostbusters doesn't really like do it. They're at this birthday party in the second one, and they're like, we want He-Man, we don't want Ghostbusters. Like these guys actually literally saved her life, like for real. And you're like, we want He-Man, we want this fictional guy. Which no hate to He-Man, but like it's just so funny.
He's not real though.
He's not real. Exactly. But just like the Ghostbusters in their universe, like they actually have done the job and they went out. So like no, it totally this franchise does follow that. Like it's a business. It is like a privately owned business. It's like they put it on that same spectrum as like cop or firefighter, but it's its own thing.
Yes.
And I don't know why. Even as a kid, that I thought that was cool. I was like, oh, that's
I think that
makes sense.
Kind of ethos is very American. It's like these guys are determining their own destiny. They're doubted, but they continue to succeed anyways. Just think about the montage sequence of them being in the news, which also really great cameos from Larry King, Casey Kasem, where they're basically showing how much of a phenomenon the Ghostbusters are. I love the caricatures of them on like the front of the magazine. Just all that stuff just came across so good.
It's so good.
Dude, also, one of the funniest bits was in that montage on like the cover of Time magazine, civil rights issue. Do ghosts have rights? Like,
yes.
Oh,
because they're just putting them like into prison essentially. So it's like that is a good question, and I think it's for a lighthearted movie like this that's kind of surface level. It's funny to just throw that in there and then not address it. I think that's hilarious.
For sure, dude. It's so funny, and it's like that is something it took a few rewatches for me to like see that, and so when I did, I was like, that is so great that they put it in there, but they didn't like really. It's not a whole thing, and it's like they really could explore on that. But like the first movie and the second movie are so like they focus more on like the EPA being like involved.
Well,
like, that's more the conflict.
Yes, well, and in general, I feel like with ghosts, they're not really in the business of explaining it. Like even though we established that Ray and Egon are like they've done the research and they understand this stuff, they're not trying to explain it to the audience that much. Like there's something about the building that makes it the place where they can summon or like commune with Zool and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's not about setting up some sort of canonical understanding so that you as the audience can be like, oh yes, that does make it all checks out. That's not important to Ghostbusters. Ghouls are a fantastical phenomenon.
Yeah, the whole point is that they like dump out the reason, and they're like, oh well, here's the scientific reason why, like whatever priest is a cult, whatever.
Yes.
And then it ends with, are you telling me that we have to go to a Supreme Court judge and like I'm gonna need a better lawyer than you guys?
Right.
It just sets up the joke. Like,
Yeah, dude,
that's
it's
like, you know, that's the punch. There's the line.
Yeah.
It sets up the joke, and I mean, I'm sure we'll get to this, but like, that's when they start getting recruited to the mayor's office because they're like, he's like, what kind of dilemma do I have here? Where I'm like, and he has the EPA guy there as well. Like, it has all these things coming to a head, and I love the way Bill Murray saves it. But again, we'll get to that.
Well, and yeah, like just to finish off kind of this private enterprise kind of theme. The other thing that I thought was very private enterprise is their commercial, where they're like, they take turns like stepping forward to say their lines, and then they're all kind of together. And I love the angle they have on this because they're all kind of like smushed together and turned to the side, and they're like, "We're ready to believe you," which is so funny. And also makes sense because it's like probably the people that, I mean, they even address it when they're talking about the kind of people that comes in. They're like usually pretty wacky. So like, we're ready to believe you is such genius marketing. So I think they do a good job. I think I can look at it both ways. They do a great job of building them up as a business and like showing how this would work as a business, but also the part where they lose me a little bit and I'm like, okay, let's chill, is that they're like so valorizing the idea that like if you go into business and make a bunch of money, you are a good person and a hero, and that's like especially at the expense of the government. And not to like cape for the government, but it's hilarious to me that the true villain, the real reason why things go like hit the fan, is because of the EPA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? It was like the most evil government agency out there.
I have to say, I really thought there was going to be a twist where the EPA guy was going to be like possessed and he was going to be the villain.
Yes,
like, I really did.
Good.
That is how like blindly he was like, we're gonna come in here and shut you down, and like they're like, if you turn that off it's gonna explode, and he's like, do it anyways, and then it explodes and he's like, this is your fault. It's like he's cartoonishly evil and incompetent, which again I'm sure in the early mid 80s, like the Reaganomics era, maybe that was like everybody agreed on that, and they're like, yeah, screw the EPA.
He was able to sell that.
You're not going to let me dump my chemicals in the river? Like, that's true evil.
You won't let my private business like thrive.
You're not going to let my private business dispose of waste improperly. Like, can't I just dump my very toxic and dangerous chemicals like wherever I please? It's not hurting anybody.
Right. Well, and I guess that to me is like, okay, this is like a cartoonish caricature of like government overreach, and really, again, that's the thing that the theme that the government is pushing is like the government's incompetent. They don't know how to deal with real problems. You have to get them out of the way so that we can let private enterprise solve people's problems instead.
At the very least, they sell Mr. Peck's, like, because that's his name, is Arthur Peck. They sell his cartoonish buffoonery to the very end, because the moment they defeat Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, he gets like covered in marshmallow. Yes. I'm like, okay, like at least to the very end, they are selling that, character,
and that's because he's the true villain of the movie. That's who they defeated, was the EPA, which is hilarious.
Just honestly, by letting Bill Murray say to the mayor, like, hey, like, all these voters are going to get saved. It's like,
that was the other thing. They like totally take advantage of the mayor because they know the one thing the mayor cares about just perpetually, even if it's not a re-election cycle, is always the fact that he needs to get reelected. And the voters are the most important thing.
He's the, spoiler alert, he's the mayor in the second one.
It worked. He got reelected.
It literally worked.
Reelected.
Well, and you guys are exactly right. Again, they're like pointing at the government. It's like the even like your elected officials don't actually care about you. All they care about is retaining power. So specifically, Bill Murray's not saying you'll save millions of people. You'll save millions of voters.
Registered voters.
Yeah. So it's again a very cynical view of the government. And again, their kind of their solution to government, or their replacement of government, is private enterprise. That is the message that Ghostbusters is sending.
I just love in that scene the like the mayor looks at the priest, and the priest is like, he's like,
Oh, dude,
he's right.
The priest was so
Like, why would the priest ever be like, he listen to this science guy?
Yes, and maybe that's the other thing too, is they're like making a commentary on religion or specific religions. We have this scene again that to me kind of came out of nowhere. They're in the car and they're like driving across one of the bridges in New York. And
I love that. That part's crazy.
Yeah, well, and Winston is talking about his knowledge of the Bible and how he digs Jesus's style, man. And and they talk about
Judgment Day.
Yeah, exactly. And how they're like almost drawing a connection to the ghosts, where they're like, yeah, the dead are rising again. But then it kind of goes nowhere. We have the priest who shows up and is friends with the mayor, and we have like the Jewish like guys and more priests who are standing outside of Sigourney Weaver's building and like doing religious signals and stuff.
Sure,
but they don't really go deeper than that, which honestly is fine. Again, this is supposed to be like a fun and funny movie.
Yeah.
I don't need to like reconcile with my faith while I'm watching Ghostbusters, but it just to me felt like they started down that path and then just it evaporated. So I honestly don't think this movie has much to say at all on religion. But it was interesting how present religion was, despite the movie basically just being like, this is what a priest would say if there were ghosts.
Totally.
Without really taking a stance.
I think the movie in general doesn't want you to think too hard. They just want you to enjoy the movie. And because of that, they will kind of play the like serious rabbit holes they start to go down to, right? Much like the religious scene, much like the exposition lore dump that Aegon gives for the tower. They're just like, oh, like, look at this rabbit hole that we're going to go down to. And then it sets it up for the joke, which is just like, how about some music? Or, hey, you telling me I have to go face a federal judge? I need a better lawyer than you guys. Like, you know, but the movie doesn't want you to think too hard, which is fine. Like, that's what the movie is.
I think that is fine, but they definitely don't hold back on the whole private enterprise versus government thing. So,
for sure.
But I think I've covered that enough. Let's move forward into the love stories. Really, there's two that I want to focus on. I'm not sure if there's any even other ones to think about, but let's start with Peter Venkman and Dana Barrett. This is our main character and our like quote unquote damsel in distress. My take on this: Venkman is a creep from the very beginning of the movie, and he's a smartass for the whole run. Dana sees right through him. Talk about ghostly things. She sees right through him from the beginning. He does not change. He's the same guy at the end of the movie, and inexplicably, they get together at the end. I guess it's not completely inexplicable because by the end of the movie, something has changed. Now he's a successful businessman, and famous. So of course,
and he saved her life.
Dana, yeah, he did save her life along with these other guys too, by the way.
Yes,
and now they're together, which is so like end of the movie, whatever. Like that's not a surprise to me, but especially because I have seen Alien and Aliens, and I know Sigourney Weaver is this strong, independent female character as Ridley. I roll my eyes at that and I'm like, they should not be together. This guy is still a creep and Dana is too good for him, in my opinion.
Someone's got to watch Ghostbusters 2 now, for real.
100% agree.
Like
honestly.
after that statement, dude, Ghostbusters 2 is seriously your next step because like they're similar, but they talk about that like because it's like they've clearly dated, but they're not together anymore. It's like they tried it after that. It's like so it's cool that like you're already like pointing that, especially again with Sigourney Weaver playing such like a badass character before Ghostbusters, and then so obviously we're gonna see her stick to her wits and be like, you seem more like a game show host. But you're right. Like, again, I'm so biased. This is my favorite Bill Murray movie. I love his buffoonery. I love his like. I think he's so great because one of my favorites is like when he first meets her, and they're like, like, okay, well, I'll look at this. I'll study up on this. He's like, here's the thing. I'll take Dana back to her place and check her out. I'll go ahead and check out Miss Dana's apartment. He's just like, what?
Right,
Just like,
and I get that that's played for laughs, but when my read on that is, it's like, this is
sleazy.
He's a sleazy pig.
Sleazy pig.
And
yeah.
I don't. And again, that's just my take on it. I'm not. I'm like, actually, I think most people love his antics, but I like, even if you don't think of her as Ridley, like, Dana is a world-class musician, and and again sees right through him in the beginning. So it's so frustrating to see her flip at the end of the movie and be like, I'm his girlfriend now.
I mean, does she really, or like, does she
gives him a
just kind of
smooch at
walk
the
out the
end, but-
building?
She gives him a smooch at the end, right? When it says directed by
saves
Ivan
her
Reitman,
life.
but
Like, I don't know.
Well, where's the
It's a
smooch
hero's
for
kiss.
Egon and the smooch for
Oh,
Winston?
he gets a
Don't
hug,
even get
at
me
least.
started on Egon, dude.
No.
Him and Janine have some of the most insane sexual tension I think I've ever seen put to film.
Well,
I'm
it's-
so sorry, but it makes total sense why the franchise like focuses on their family. Cause sorry, they fuck. Like,
Oh,
it's
dang,
crazy.
yeah. Thank you for apologizing in advance
Well,
on that
it's
one.
like they do, but like in Ghostbusters 2, she's also pulling that same ish with Rick Moranis' character in Ghostbusters 2. Like she does like a little fling with him in that movie. But like, yeah, like I forgot in like after, so many rewatches, like, yeah, no, she really does. Their chemistry is way more a thing. Even when they're like doing the low key flirting, she's like, what are do you have any hobbies? She's like, I collect spores, molds, and fungus.
Yes,
It's just so
Listen,
iconic.
okay, they play that for laughs, but the scene, like, because like she's talking to Venkman like right before he walks off, and the scene where like Aegon gets out from under her desk,
Under her desk.
like, unbelievable like sexual tension. And maybe my radar's just broken, but like, hot damn,
No, for sure,
like
Well,
wow, like,
she's like,
way to way
very
to
charming.
slap it on there. Good lord.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you guys. Egon and Janine, a much better like couple. Their chemistry is instantly like something you notice, and it makes sense that they get together. Although, again, that one to me feels a little bit like the everyone gets a girlfriend trope, just because it's like, did we need you guys are talking about the sequel, so it sounds like maybe they were setting something up, but if you think about this as a standalone film, it's like, did we have to also get girlfriends for this? But I give them a pass all day, because they're strange in the same way,
Yes.
which
No,
makes them
but-
go together so well.
That's the thing, though, because it's sort of a parallels like, oh, you have a bad relationship with Venkman and Dana, and then on the flip side, like, you have a very healthy, good relationship with Aegon and Janine, and it's just like, you can be weird together, and like, that's totally awesome. Go for it. And then on the other side is like, or you could be totally sleazy, and maybe
And
you'll get
not awesome.
or like, you will get the grill if you just be yourself and be weird.
Well, it's it's the two main love stories. I think, just again, being a little bit more postmodern, like it's 2026. I think back in the 80s, you probably expected, it's like, my main character better be kissing a girl at the end of this movie.
Yeah,
So
no.
I'm willing to give it a pass, but it is interesting to look through the lens now where I see Bill Murray's character as way more of a sleazeball than maybe he would have been portrayed or perceived
Viewed,
in the
yeah.
80s, where it's like, he's actually just funny. If he
does-
bugs her enough, eventually she'll fall for him, and he does,
Well,
and she does.
Oh,
It
he's
does-
just persistent.
Yes,
Exactly. Well, it does give a little bit of the university some creds. Like here's the thing. Yes, like totally they overlook that these guys actually just found an actual specter, got some fluid. Like they actually are getting data that's actually proven. But he singles the dean singles Peter Venkman out, and he's like, you are like, your methods are sloppy, you are a poor scientist. And it's like, damn, at the beginning of the movie, I do love that. My whole thing that I'm disappointed with in Ghostbusters, honestly, from just the first movie is them like setting that seed and be like, oh, is he going to like solve it with science at the end? No, like he's always, you're right, Ben, he's always a sleazeball. He's always just Bill Murray, and I think maybe that's just his shtick. It does work, but
Yeah,
At the very least, the crossing the streams comes into play at the end. Like, there's some science there. Like, I feel like that salvages it. But yes, like for sure, like exactly what we were talking about. She totally is just settling for him nagging her.
exactly. Yeah. But and again, that is who his character is. And reading reviews of this film and the audience's reception at the time, they love Bill Murray. So
Sure.
it's not like this. I feel like, again, my perception comes from waiting 40 years to see it. So
It's
that
fair.
I have like
It's
that
fair
different-
though, and I'm glad to
back
hear
then
that
it worked.
perspective.
Yeah. Back
Also,
then, I think
it's
it
a
worked.
postmodern view. We're in an era where like I think men in general are not supposed to be that sleazy. Like you can be persistent without being a sleazeball about it.
For sure.
You know?
And
And,
yeah, it was
like,
the 80s. It's such an
it's the
80s movie
80s,
too.
It very
it's
is.
like-
it is.
it's supposed to come off as like a smooth talker, right? And you're just witty and you're bantering, right? You have a repartee, so to speak. But like, yeah, now it's sort of the view of like, that's a little sleazy, you know?
Sure.
Well, also, we were introduced to Venkman when he's doing this like
Oh, yeah,
sadistic
that too.
experiment, I guess, on these college students where he's making this one girl feel like she's literally psychic and he's faking the results, and then he's faking the results to the other guy so he can shock him over and over
Dude,
again. So it's like,
yeah.
this is a bad person. And also, I wonder what would have happened to that college student if they didn't get pulled to the library. You know, he's like, I need another hour and a half with her. It's like, interesting.
Yeah, because he even when Ray comes in, he like says, "I'm in the middle of something."
Yeah,
Ray.
he literally hits him.
He really wanted to get the grill for like by
Yes.
any means. It's so funny. Like yes, for sure. Like the societal norms now are like different looking at those kind of scenes, but it's just like it still makes me laugh so hard how much of a savage Bill Murray is that opening moment, because like he is giving like the guy like but there's one moment where he like it's a bunch of squiggly lines and it is the squiggly lines. And he's
Yeah,
like,
he
sorry.
actually gets a correct
He
result.
gets it correct,
That's the
but he's
best part.
he's like, sorry, no, this isn't your lucky day."
Unbelievable. Like, it's just not your day.
Well, and my take is that Venkman does not change. The movie does
For
not
sure.
make him
No.
be like, you know what?
Yeah.
I should be a better person and not be a scumbag. He's like still the same guy and gets the grill in the end, and it's like, great. Okay.
Yeah.
So those are the love stories. I just wanted to go over those. We're getting close to the end here, but I wanted to give us an opportunity to talk about any other like best moments. One of the things that I love that like kind of comes out of nowhere is where they're like, they're going to like basically pull out their like guns or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're like holding, heat them up, smoking, and they like say it together. That's so badass, and it
Dude,
comes
it's
out of
so good.
nowhere. And I like that was one of my favorite scenes. Like I said in the beginning of this episode, I think that the end of this movie is so iconic. It just everything goes like turned up to 10. They're on top of this big building, and then you get the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, and then the effects of him exploding and like burning all over the place, I thought was done really, really well. So I just love that whole ending sequence.
In that same like conglomeratory of like all the lines in that last sequence, like I love when they decide they are gonna cross the streams, and like Dan Aykroyd and like looks at me, he's like, it was great like working with you, Dr. Venkman, and he's like, I'll see you on the other side. Like it tops off that badass. Load him up, smoke it. Yeah, no, totally. It's so good.
It's like, when
It
did
does-
they practice that? When
Dude,
did they
I
like
don't know
come
when
up
they
with
could
that?
have, but peak.
It is
It was
peak.
peak. Cooz is right. It was peak.
They do turn it to 10. Like that's a good description. Yeah, no, it's so peak.
Any other best moments you guys want to bring up before we move on?
I'm glad that we basically talked about the montage and like the Slimer like catching scene, like all that is like seriously. I think that's my like favorite stuff. Again, I think this the whole movie. I can't sell this enough. Bill Murray, even though he's a sleazeball, he's still Bill Murray, and like the 80s rode that trope, and Ghostbusters is just a perfect example of that because his lines are just so boom boom. Like I like
I'll say one thing though.
Yeah.
Because they could have really had him be a sleazeball. When Dana's like possessed and she's very much on top of him.
Yes.
He definitely catches on quick and then does not like
he's like, I want to talk to Dana,
initiate contact further.
I will agree that
yeah.
he definitely backs away from like being beyond the pale at that point. Like
for sure,
he's a sleazy guy, but not like he has his limits.
No, for sure. And he sees she's possessed, and he's like, hey, Zuli, I don't want to talk to Zuli. I want to talk to Dana. Dana, are you in there? Like, he's really trying.
Yeah.
And then he like
that's a good point, Cooz. I'm glad you pointed that out.
Don't get me wrong. He is sleazy, but the fact that like he's not criminal is
really just
still
help him. It does help him. He's just a private business owner trying to take money from the government. But no, so I think we covered like what I love about this particular first movie.
Yeah, and there's so much there. And honestly, like talking with you guys, it's like being able to share that also with other people, I think also adds to how much fun it is and how much I like really did enjoy getting to know like the Ghostbusters world. Something that I had no idea about the Ghostbusters 1. And we didn't even mention this in the casting, but Reginald VelJohnson plays the jail guard in this movie when they're in prison. Okay. Now, if that name doesn't pull a face instantly, you might remember Reginald VelJohnson as Carl Winslow in Family Matters. He also plays Al Powell, who is friends with Bruce Willis's character, John McClane, in Die Hard. So they're like on the phone together in Die Hard as he's like helping him deal with the situation in that movie. And it just begs the question, are these movies happening in the same universe? Is Ghostbusters happening in New York? And Reginald VelJohnson goes and moves. He's like, this is too freaky for me. I'm moving to LA. And then he gets to be part of Die Hard 1 in the Nakatomi Tower or whatever it's called on Christmas.
In LA.
Yeah. And it's like, oh man, this is the international crime syndicate is getting too rough for me. I'm moving to Chicago. And then he has to deal with Steve Urkel.
Oh man.
Because I just love all those forms of medias, and I as an MCU fan, like I love the multiverse. I love that idea. I do think Die Hard. I mean, if that begs the question, if that's true, then by that logic, because there is a scene in Family Matters, I think it may be a blooper, but where Uncle Phil from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air comes to Family like is in a moment of like,
nice.
And so like by that logic, like Ghostbusters, Die Hard, and Family Matters, and the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air are in the same universe.
They're in the Winslow-verse.
The Winslow-verse.
Dude, hold on. Let me put a little bit more like salt on this real quick.
Here we go.
Because Family Matters eventually kind of devolves into like the Steve Urkel show. And Steve Urkel invents all these like wacky inventions. And if it were true that it were in the Ghostbusters universe, then like that could totally be plausible. Because like, who the hell's making like proton, laser beams and like proton
so wait, like
and ghost casting equipment, but also like. It's totally plausible because if some schmuck from New York can do it, totally Steve Urkel can do it.
That's how Steve Urkel got like the blueprints. Like he found that like he knew that.
I know he was inspired. He saw the Ghostbusters.
Right.
And I was like, I'm going to make my own material.
Yeah, he was listening to freaking Larry King and heard him talk about the Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Dude, this is such a missed opportunity because the Ghostbusters reboot should have had Steve Urkel as basically the Winston role, like shows up out of nowhere and is the fourth Ghostbuster.
Probably would have made it a better movie, honestly.
Way better. Well, okay. Yeah. And just while we're building this out, because I did not realize, I didn't think about this before, but Steve Urkel is also in Full House. There's a crossover episode in like season 4. So the Tanner family is also canonically in the Ghostbusters.
Everything is interconnected and
the Die Hard verse.
I promise. I promise you, they're all just one universe.
That's so great.
It's funny because like we always like to joke about like what if like Walter White was in the MCU, but like these are like really close. The reason why it's so funny is because Reginald VelJohnson just happens to always be a random cop.
Yes,
Like
he's always a cop.
He could go, and Carl Winslow obviously has to have a first name last name because he's like a sitcom dad. But like in Die Hard, he could have also been named Carl Winslow, and in this movie,
he could
might
have
as
been
well
Carl
not
Winslow.
have
He's
a
just a
name.
random guard.
Yes.
Like,
yeah, exactly. Like this is definitely early career Carl Winslow. He's not even married yet. Does not have kids. He's just a beat cop in New York and happens to run into the Ghostbusters.
The mayor wants to see you.
God. Oh God.
Like he's
iconic.
Dude, iconic. And it, like
peak, bro. Peak.
It just reminds me of like it's just what we were talking about with if Walter White was in the MCU. Like through Breaking Bad, I know Ben, you and I have had this specific verse that's like badge from that show, and that actors in like Community, How I Met Your Mother, and like all these other shows. It's like, oh, what about the Badger verse? So this is like its own like more so canon version of
the Winslow verse, dude. It's so real.
Walter White did go face up against Godzilla. So
I do remember that. As soon as Breaking Bad ended, at like the peak popularity, they released Godzilla, and the commercials definitely made it seem like it was Bryan Cranston versus Godzilla, which
literally
was not
Bryan
what that
Cranston,
movie was.
Walter
Not
White
what that movie
versus
is.
Godzilla.
Okay, well, while we're talking about intellectual property like spiraling out of control, we touched on this briefly earlier, but you know, Ghostbusters is not just one movie. It's Ghostbusters 2. It's Ghostbusters 2016, which you said, Nick, is Ghostbusters like Here We
Answer
Go
the
Again.
Call.
Oh,
That's literally the
Call.
first time I've ever
which
heard
is actually, I
that.
didn't know that, but I like that because it has the whole like who you gonna call thing.
Yeah.
Tied in. And then there's Afterlife, and then Frozen Empire. When did Frozen Empire come out?
Frozen Empire came out like 2024, so it's still
it's
fairly
pretty new.
recent.
Yeah,
that's recent actually.
And I guess my question, this is really for you guys, because I can't speak to this and I haven't seen anything else. Does expanding the lore improve or decrease the magic of the original tight concept of Ghostbusters?
Cooz, I'm going to let you start this one off.
I think that the direct sequel is probably like really good for just Ghostbusters, because this movie is like, I don't know. We kind of said on it earlier, like giving Carl Winslow's character like an expanded backstory, or not Carl Winslow's character. Excuse me,
Ernie Hudson's character.
Ernie Hudson.
Winston.
Thank you. Fork. Sorry. Giving his character an expanded backstory would not have hurt, but also like, it would have made the movie a little bit longer.
Right.
But I'd be okay with that. Like, the movie comes up to an hour and 42 minutes. 10 of them are straight up credits, so it's really like an hour and a half. I feel like in this modern day and age, you could have had it be 2 hours and be totally fine.
Okay. Okay.
So with that in mind, having one sequel is totally okay, especially because of how successful it was. Like, good or bad, it deserved a sequel.
Okay, so it deserved a sequel. Did they pull off the sequel? And now I don't want to hear a detailed thing, but like in your opinion, the sequel's good?
The one sequel, I think yes, but afterward, I don't know. Like,
okay.
I didn't think the reboot was terrible, but it's not great. And then I didn't see the other two, so I can't speak on that really.
This is definitely where I can come in, because I've seen all Ghostbusters media. And so like, yeah, I agree. The reboot is like, I could take it or leave it. It's so whatever. But yes, the second one is really good. It definitely rides that hype because it's not too long after the first one comes out. It really is good.
It's
and again,
5 years.
5 years after the events of the first one, so it really is, and it kind of rides that coattails. Again, especially if you like had your feelings about Dana Barrett and Peter Venkman being together. There's like they
flesh it out.
They flesh it out. There's like other stuff happening. It is I think the sequel is a good standalone thing. If you like only want to see those two movies, I think like they both are so good. Personally, after seeing Afterlife, I'm going to start with Afterlife just for a moment, because Afterlife really changed the formula up. Really changed the formula up, because it does not take place in New York. It's not even like it's in a different state and on like a foreign land, completely a different scenario. But it's still the same universe, same lore, and like it really ties in everything. And then Frozen Empire is in New York. And it like, I think those two movies really have taken what we love about Ghostbusters and like the concept, but without like tarnishing it, but like being like, and also having its moments like, oh, you remember this, but like doing it in a right way. I personally, in my own opinion, I'm like Ghostbusters Afterlife and Ghostbusters Frozen Empire really knew what the fans wanted and gave them that payoff. I do think Afterlife is probably one of the best Ghostbusters films besides the first one. I think my like ranking of the films is Ghostbusters, Ghostbusters Afterlife, Ghostbusters 2, and Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. Not to say that Frozen Empire isn't good. I actually also love Frozen Empire, but you got to rank them. And I do think the second one is still pretty good, but the first one's the best one. And I think Afterlife, it really changes the formula, but still keeps it like untarnished. And I feel like that's hard to do when you're taking a medium that has been at least before Afterlife. I think Afterlife was like 2018 or 2019. It was years, so it's like such a big risk. But I think so much is riding on it that they know that this franchise is so, loved, and after seeing like stuff like Star Wars get kind of touched and changed by Disney,
that's something I want to bring up.
Yeah, it's like when you make another entry, you have an opportunity to maybe undo the magic of the originals. But honestly, Nick, I'm not too surprised, but I'm a little surprised to hear your like kind of
ranking,
positivity about the sequels, because I think there's a lot of people who are kind of like not stoked on the sequels. So it's nice to hear that it does hit for like at least like the true Ghostbusters fans.
I love it, dude.
Listen, I actually heard good things about Afterlife, but I know that they paid a lot of tribute to Harold Ramis because he passed away, and like they said it was very like respectful and it was really good. And like there is a scene where like, I guess spoilers, he potentially comes back as like a ghost or whatever, but they like reuse old footage. It's not like AI slop. They just kind of overlay it with some effects or some bullshit.
That's good.
And I'm willing to, like, I'll say this much. After this whole experience, I'm willing to go watch Afterlife and Frozen Empire. Like,
well, here's something for you guys to jot down. If I die, don't put me in your movies. Get me in your movies while I'm still alive, but do not put my corpse on screen. I don't care how good the AI is. If I'm dead, let me rest, okay?
Bold of you to think that I am a filmmaker. I'm very honored that like you think I could.
I mean, in this future where I'm dead, who knows what's happened?
Yeah,
so
that's true. The thing is like in a future where AI can like totally replicate your likeness. Very uncannily so.
That is where we are at currently in 2026. It's funny because like going back to what you were saying, I have heard other people not liking those sequels, and some people are like they just don't like it because Paul Rudd's in it. And I don't think Afterlife and Frozen Empire is a situation where it's like, oh, Chris Pratt. Like I don't think it's that kind of situation. I think Paul Rudd and Patton Oswalt also has cameos in these movies, and so he these other celebrities are we know that these movies are this whole phenomenon is cultural and significant, and we got to play true to that. And so, no, I think Paul Rudd, and I used to hate Paul Rudd as a young kid. I was like, this dude's so annoying. But then as I got older, saw him as Ant-Man, he does a great job kind of help tying in that lore, especially when he first comes in Afterlife. And so
do they explore Paul Rudd's seemingly immortal lifespan?
All right, and we're back. We had a quick little technical difficulty there, but we're in good shape again. Same, just like the Ghostbusters. We're having to figure out the technology side of it. I
apologize for questioning Paul's immortality.
Yes, you shouldn't have mentioned Paul Rudd being immortal. We're just gonna move right past that. One more intellectual property that's descendant from Ghostbusters I want to talk about. It's not really even an IP; it's a YouTube video. Ghostbusters versus Mythbusters. Epic rap battles of history. Okay. First of all, growing up at ERB, when they dropped a new YouTube video, it was an event. That was
it was.
Did you see freaking Mr. Rogers versus Mr. T? And if you missed the YouTube video, it was a long day at school because you were going to have to wait till the end of the day to watch it
or lunch
and have your opinion.
Least.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So, this one I think is really great. After it was already great, but after seeing the movie, I'm like, oh, I get all the references now. Most of them actually, because some of them are clearly from Ghostbusters 2, but it's really great. And I'm going to include a link to that in the description so that anybody who hasn't seen it can watch it. But if you like Ghostbusters, they do such a great, like, they pay homage to the original movie and the sequel, I guess. Where they have, like, they start off with the commercial where they're like rapping as they're each taking a step forward and talking. And then instead of saying, we're ready to believe you, they're like, we're ready to defeat you. And then they have the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man come in at the end. Just listening to it now, what was already good is like that much better because I actually get the inside jokes. So did you guys get a chance to rewatch that before this?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And boy, like I forgot. I remember when we were talking about it, I was like, I don't remember that. No, I totally remember this. And like, it all totally started coming back to me. And watching it, I was like, and that's what Epic Rap Battles was like for us as a youth. Like each one was a moment for sure. It was kind of like a Lonely Island video. Like, oh, like this is gonna be so funny. It's gonna be so iconic.
So funny.
The
and
Ghostbusters versus the Ghostbusters versus Mythbusters one is ironically one of their best. It's so good.
So yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because honestly, that was probably the biggest foothold that Ghostbusters had in my life until now, and now it's the actual movie. So, all right. So as we do at the end of every episode of Affable Chat, we'll now deliver our ratings, and I think we'll start with you, Cooz. What rating do you want to give to Ghostbusters?
I think I'm going to give this movie a solid 5 slimes and Slimer.
Ah, yes. That's high praise and one of the most iconic characters. Okay, we'll go over to you, Nick. What rating do you want to give this film?
I give this rating a giant Twinkie size enough to destroy a community of people. That's the rating I give it. Is a giant is a Twinkie so large it would capsize the entire New York City.
Tell him about the
Nick,
Twinkie.
tell him about the Twinkie.
Tell him about the Twinkie.
All right, and then finally, I give the rating I give this movie is I give it 2 streams that I cross, and then everything explodes at the speed of light, which is such a hilarious thing to talk about. It's like, imagine that this happens.
And Bill Murray follows it up with, okay, that's bad, right? Okay. Important safety tip. Got it. Thanks, Ivan.
High praise, good sir. High praise.
Okay. That's the end of our conversation on Ghostbusters. I'll admit it was long overdue for me. I'm glad that I've added this one to the catalog of movies that we've discussed on this podcast. And thank you once again to our guests, Cooz and Nick. Thank you so much for setting aside the time to discuss such an important piece of media. Nick, I know you've got some music you want to talk about. Where can the people find you?
People can find my music on any of the streaming platforms under my name, which is Nick Heredia. My album, A Universal Contemporary, came out January 2024, still available on all streaming services. I am also currently finally back in the studio process. It is a slow process, but we're back on it, trying to make some new music for you folks. But wherever you stream my music, you can find it. Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, Pandora, YouTube Music, anywhere, and you'll find it there.
All right. Well, once again, thank you to our guests, Nick and Cooz. Affable Chat, if you're hearing this right now, if you're looking at this right now, you're a real one. Affable Chat's still doing it in 2026, just a little less frequently than before.
Crazy.
But still having a blast whenever we get a chance to talk about movies. Check out our Instagram at Affable Chat, and listen to more episodes wherever you get your podcast. But that's going to do it for this one. For Affable Chat, I'm Benjamin, and we'll see you next time.